you have less time than you think to claim what has been prepared for you in this window of opportunity. This message is available right now. And what is about to be revealed here, the confirmation of what you already knew but were gaslit into silencing, has an expiration date. I'm not talking about a false sense of urgency just to rush you. I'm talking about a spiritual window that heaven has opened because the work being done against you can still be stopped. But it cannot wait another day. Stay until the very end. Before we finish, you will receive the confirmation of what you've known all along, the protocol on how to move forward without exposing yourself, and exactly what to do before this day is over to keep this window from closing. You didn't stumble upon this by accident. You're here right on time. Let me get straight to what you're actually going through. Not the story you tell people. I'm talking about what happens when you're alone and your guard is down. You scroll through your contacts and you see the pattern. There are people who just vanished. There are meetings that never got scheduled. There are conversations that were never started. And when you start to trace the source of these absences, they all lead back to one person. Always the same person. You try to tell yourself, it's just a coincidence. But your spirit already knows that a coincidence doesn't form a pattern this perfect. Think back to that meeting, or that Zoom call, or that presentation. Right in the middle of it, you were cut off or redirected. The credit for your work ended up in a different pocket than it should have. And you sat there trying to come up with a reasonable explanation for what just happened, because the honest explanation hurts too much to say out loud. You thought, maybe they didn't mean it, but something deep inside you didn't buy it. You went into the bathroom with your phone. You opened your banking app. You looked at the numbers, unable to understand why things aren't moving, why there are blocks that have no visible explanation. And there was a name, not written anywhere, but hovering at the edge of your mind every time you looked at what wasn't progressing. You pushed the name away, because naming it hurts, and because naming it without hard proof feels like you're losing your mind. You seek, you dedicate yourself, you do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part, you start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video. Naming it hurts. And because naming it without hard proof feels like you're losing your mind. At 3 o'clock in the morning, you woke up with a certainty. Not a suspicion, a certainty. Something is happening behind the scenes. Someone is actively working against you. And you lay there in that silence, chest tight, trying to decide if it was intuition or if you were just making things up again. And then the voice came. The most dangerous voice of all. You're overreacting. You're being dramatic. You always do this. And you believed it. Again, if this message is reaching you, hit that like button right now. That like is your public amen. Heaven records what you confess openly. And what you are confessing is that something inside you resisted that voice. That you are still standing by what you perceived. And that matters more than you know. Before we go further, I need you to hear what the Father has to say about this moment. I saw the exact day you stopped trusting yourself. Not because your discernment failed you, but because someone around you insisted with calculated patience that you were wrong. That was the most sophisticated blow ever dealt against you. It wasn't about destroying your life. It was about destroying your trust in your own spirit. Because if you don't trust what you perceive, you won't protect yourself. And if you don't protect yourself, you can be reached. I came to tell you today, What you saw was right. What you felt was my voice. And I opened this window because what is being done can still be stopped. That is exactly what this video is going to give you. First, what they convinced you to call paranoia or insecurity was actually pinpoint spiritual vision. And heaven has come to confirm that before any more damage is done. Second, the protocol you're about to receive will show you how to move based on this confirmation, without exposing yourself, without a premature confrontation, without losing your authority. The right move made at the right time is what separates the person who gets free from the one who stays trapped waiting for evidence to show up. Third, by the end of this video, you will be able to declare out loud and with absolute certainty, I wasn't wrong, I was silenced, and now I'm standing up with what I've known all along. Let's go. Close your eyes for a second, or just look away from the screen for a moment. Take a deep breath. What I'm going to tell you now are signs. Signs that your body and your spirit already recognize. You don't need to analyze them while I speak. Just notice what resonates. The first sign is the most physical of all. There is a weight on your shoulders that disappears the moment this person isn't around. It's not general stress. It's not Monday morning blues. It is a localized, specific relief. Your body knows the difference between their presence and their absence long before your mind can build an argument. You used to call it needing space or being burnt out. What it actually was your spirit responding to an interference field. The weight returns when the contact returns. It vanishes when the contact vanishes. That isn't a mood swing. That is spiritual data in physical form. The second sign comes through their language. This person's compliments always arrive at the exact right time. At the moment you most needed to hear them. At the instant your self-doubt was at its loudest. And they work. They make you feel better. But later, hours later, or the next day, there's a residue. Something you can't quite name. It's as if that compliment served a purpose that had nothing to do with you. Your spirit was identifying what your mind refused to label. That the goal of that praise wasn't to build you up. It was to keep you accessible. It was to extract. The third sign is about what gets stuck. You shared a plan, an idea, an opportunity, and later, not immediately, but soon after, that plan started hitting obstacles that weren't there before. Hurdles that appeared out of nowhere. Doors that seemed to slam shut without explanation. You can list the dates. You can list the times. And when you look at the pattern, it has a face. It has a name. It correlates exactly with the moment that information was shared. The spirit sees the channel. The mind still calls it a coincidence. The fourth sign is relational. People in your circle have started seeing you differently. There's a coldness that wasn't there before. They ask questions that reveal information you never gave them. There is a distortion channel active. Someone is gatekeeping how others perceive you. Not with obvious lies. Those would be easy to catch. They're doing it with nuances, with concerns, with what they leave out and what they add in. The result is that your reputation is being carved by hands that aren't yours. The next sign is the hardest one to hear. It's the one the enemy has spent the most time trying to make you ignore. You noticed with total clarity, at least once, that your presence actually bothers this person when you are doing well. That they become slightly different the moment one of your wins comes to light. An imperceptible coldness. An enthusiasm that feels forced. And you've noticed the opposite too. Their comfort level increases when you're struggling. When things are hard, when you're in doubt or vulnerable. There is a subtle satisfaction that only appears when you are down. You tried to call it my own jealousy. You called it paranoia. You called it projection. Because the alternative is naming something that changes everything. And naming something that changes everything is terrifying. But you noticed it. And the spirit doesn't lie. If this word is for you, type free in the comments right now. Close your eyes for a second. breathe. What I'm about to tell you won't work if your attention is divided. You need to be fully present for what's coming. There are two pictures heaven wants to show you. One from sacred history, one from the world you know. After you see both, you'll understand exactly where you are. David and Saul lived under the same roof. Saul called David by name with genuine affection. He put David in a position of honor. He celebrated David's victories in front of others. And while he was doing that, there was a spear hidden in his hand. There was a plan. There was a pattern of action that only made sense if his intentions were never what his mouth declared. What makes David's story unique isn't that he was attacked. It's that David noticed. The same spirit that had anointed David protected the one he had anointed. David wasn't paranoid. David wasn't making it up. David had exact spiritual discernment about who was smiling at him while planning against him at the same time. And here is the detail that matters most for you. David was still serving in Saul's house even after he realized it. His exit didn't come from a blow-up. It didn't come from a public call-out. His exit came from the discernment that guided every step, every word, and every move until the moment to leave opened up without violence and without losing his integrity. You are in that moment right now. You're still in it, but you're already seeing it. The second image is a compass in an interference field. When a powerful external magnet is placed near a compass, the needle shakes. It loses stability. It points in directions that aren't true north. Someone who doesn't understand what's happening looks at the compass and thinks it's broken. But the Earth's magnetic pole hasn't changed. What changed was the field around it. You were placed in a field of calculated interference. People and voices that tried to make your internal compass point south. Who insisted with patience and repetition that your north was wrong. That the direction you felt was just instability, insecurity, or projection. And the compass wavered. You wavered. You actually started to believe the problem was the instrument itself. But the pole inside you never changed. If you recognize yourself in David, type David in the comments. If the image of the compass hit deeper, type compass. Either one counts. Because the truth of both is the same. What was magnetized from the beginning resisted the field that tried to erase its north. Let me stop for a full minute. You spent weeks, maybe months, being convinced that the problem was your perception, not the person. You were systematically taught to distrust the most precise instrument you have, your own spirit. The signs you lived through weren't your imagination. They weren't exaggerated insecurity. They were real data points arriving in sequence, asking to be interpreted, asking to be named, and you silenced them because the cost of naming them seemed too high. You reached this video because something inside you didn't completely surrender to the version of reality they tried to implant. There was a resistance. Small sometimes, silent, almost always, but real. And what is being done against you is not an accident. It has a method. It has continuity. It has intent. It isn't paranoia to recognize a pattern. It's sanity. Listen to what the Father has to say about this. I remember the night you looked in the mirror and wondered if you were the problem. I remember the hour you decided for the last time that maybe you were just wrong. That maybe it was just your anxiety. That maybe you were just projecting. It was in that moment that I decided to open this confirmation. Because no one who belongs to me will be destroyed from the inside by a lie about who they are. You will not be made a traitor to yourself. Not while I have a say in it. And I do. What you are about to hear isn't a diagnosis. It's what heaven calls you when it speaks of you in the high places. It is the identity that survived the field that tried to erase your north. The first identity is this. You are a north bearer. Not a north bearer because you never wavered, but because even when you wavered, the pole didn't go out. I saw every moment when the interference field was at its strongest and the needle inside you was shaking. I saw the nights when north seemed to have vanished completely. And I saw that the pole was still there, magnetized from its origin, resisting what tried to rewrite your orientation. You are a North Bearer, not because you never doubted, but because you doubted everything except what was true. What this identity authorizes is this: you can stop treating your own discernment like a suspect. The instrument was tested in the strongest interference field it has ever faced, and it survived. Start consulting it for what it is: a calibrated instrument, proven under pressure. The second identity is this: you are indestructible from within. I saw the systematic effort to make you become your own enemy. Every time doubt was planted about what you perceived, every time you were convinced to back down, to blame yourself, to question your gut, I saw what that cost you, and I saw that the attempt failed. Not completely, not without some damage, but it failed at its core. You are still here. You still trust enough to have reached this message. The operation to turn you against yourself did not work. What this identity authorizes is this: labeling what was done against your internal confidence as an external attack. It wasn't your weakness. It wasn't proof that you're insecure. What happened was planned against you, and you can start rebuilding from the part of you that stayed intact. The third identity is this: you are heaven confirmed. I saw the silence you chose, the times you could have reacted, the times you could have accused them out loud, could have exposed them, could have exploded with enough evidence to be justified. And you chose to wait, without knowing you were being watched, without knowing that silence was being recorded. I saw it, and today I confirm, what you saw was right, not as permission to attack, but as a decree that you can move forward in peace with what you already know. What this identity authorizes is this: receiving this confirmation as a closing of the chapter, not an opening for a fight. Heaven didn't confirm this so you could go to war. It confirmed it so you could move with authority, with protection, and without needing visible proof to act. Type the name of the identity you just received in the comments. North Bearer. Indestructible. Confirmed. And if you aren't subscribed yet, do it now. Because what comes next is the protocol. Before the protocol, I need you to understand where you are spiritually. You aren't just a person with a gut feeling. You are a person who made it here because your spirit resisted the largest operation ever launched against you. The operation to make you stop believing in yourself. What follows is the protocol of the restored compass. 3 steps: not to confront, not to expose, but to move based on the confirmation heaven just handed you. Step 1. Acknowledge. Say this exact phrase quietly, or write it down if you prefer. I wasn't wrong. What I saw was real. This isn't just a positive affirmation. It is a declaration that undoes on a spiritual level the work of erosion that was systematically done to you. Every time someone told you you're overreacting, every time you gave in to that version, that damage piled up in layers. This phrase starts peeling them back, one by one, from the most recent to the oldest. Say it, right now, before we continue. Step 2. Close the channel. Identify how this person has access to your life. Maybe it's information. Maybe it's influence over others. Maybe they're embedded in your plans or projects. Maybe it's emotional access you're still giving them without realizing it. Map the channels, not to make an announcement, but to decree spiritually, in silence, that every channel is now closed. You don't need to tell them. A spiritual decree doesn't need an audience. Heaven hears you. And what was authorized in the spiritual realm will begin to manifest in the visible realm at the right pace, not necessarily at your pace of urgency. Step 3. Advance. Identify one decision or one move that was stuck because of this person's presence. It might be something small, an email you didn't send, a conversation you avoided, an opportunity you held back on because something told you it would cause problems. Pick that move and take the first step today. Not tomorrow, today. Because the first step taken today is the practical declaration that the block has been lifted. It is the movement your spirit recognizes as confirmation that the compass is back on north. The sign that the protocol is working isn't euphoria. It isn't the satisfaction of being right. It is stillness, a specific internal quiet that doesn't depend on what happens outside. When that stillness arrives, you will know the interference field has lost its power. If you are receiving this protocol, type "received" in the comments. Now I have to warn you about what's going to happen next. In the next 72 hours, 3 things will be thrown at you. Not as a possibility, but as a certainty. The first is the collective rewrite. It arrives disguised as a consensus. Everyone thinks you're being dramatic. Several people told me you're just like this. It's not just me. It's the use of group opinion to replace what you directly perceived. The goal is to make you question your personal discernment by putting the weight of the group on the other side. The specific weapon is isolation. If everyone sees it differently than you must be the problem. But a consensus built through a distortion channel isn't evidence, it's a product. The second is the selective memory of kindness. It arrives disguised as gratitude. But they've done so much for me. There are times when they're actually amazing. I can't forget what they did in that one situation. The specific weapon is activating real moments of kindness to create doubt about the larger pattern. Here is what you need to know. Strategic kindness and genuine kindness can look identical in the moment. The difference is the pattern, and you've already mapped the pattern. The third is paralysis by lack of proof. It arrives disguised as prudence. I can't act without concrete evidence. It would be unfair to draw conclusions without absolute certainty. What if I'm wrong? The specific weapon is making you wait until the damage is irreversible before you protect yourself. Because concrete proof in patterns like this usually only shows up when it's too late to act without a high cost. Spiritual discernment doesn't wait for a forensic report. It acts in time, and there is an internal enemy that will show up in the hours after this video. A voice that will say, "But what if I'm wrong this time too?" It sounds like honest reflection. It sounds like maturity. It isn't. It's the same tactic of internal erosion installed by the interference field, now operating from the inside. Recognize that voice for what it is. It didn't come from you. It was planted. Type "protected" in the comments. The decree is sealed. Now I need you to do one thing. Place your left hand, open, over your heart. Both feet on the ground. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath, all the way in, and let it out slowly. You're going to hand over 3 things to heaven right now. The first is the shame. The shame of being convinced your own discernment was wrong, of believing the lie for too long, of silencing your sharpest perception for months, maybe years, because someone around you insisted you were off. That shame doesn't belong to you. It was manufactured for you to carry. Hand it over now. The second is the exhaustion. The weariness of living on high alert while trying to function normally. Of smiling in meetings while something inside you was screaming. Of replying to texts with normalcy while your spirit was processing things that couldn't be said out loud. That exhaustion was real, and you carried it alone for too long. Hand it over now. The third is the dependency on visible proof. The need to see this person exposed publicly before you feel validated. The waiting for the moment when everyone finally sees what you saw. Letting go of that need isn't approving of what they did. It's stopping the power of what they did. It's unhooking your freedom from their exposure. Hand it over now. Listen to what the Father says about you. I remember 3 o'clock in the morning. Not just one night, many nights. You lying there in the dark with a certainty, clear as a name written down, that something was being done against you. You staying there, motionless, trying to decide if it was real or if you were just making it up. I was in that darkness with you. That certainty you felt was my voice coming to you as a warning. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't insecurity. It was me telling you that I saw what you were seeing and that what was being done against you was real. And I remember your contact list, you noticing the absences, you tracing the pattern and arriving at the same address every time. You locking your phone because naming it hurt more than pretending you didn't see it. I saw that moment. I saw you choosing the lesser pain of ignorance so you wouldn't have to carry the greater pain of certainty. And I respected the time you needed. But now the time has changed. Now the window is open. And I have come personally to declare over you. You weren't making it up. You weren't overreacting. The discernment you silenced out of shame was exact. The perception you muffled under the weight of the voices around you was my voice coming through the spirit I placed inside you. You are my David in this story. And just as David was not destroyed inside the house of the one planning against him, you will not be destroyed. Not because the interference field will vanish tomorrow, but because I am covering what is mine. Your mind is covered. Your relationships are covered. Your progress is covered. The timing of what belongs to you will not be stolen. What was planned against you will reveal more about the one who planned it than about the one who was the target, and you will be standing when it happens. Now say it out loud before you write your final comment. Say, I wasn't wrong, I was kept, and now I move forward with what I've always known. Say it out loud, now. Type done in the comments if you said that phrase, and think of one person, right now, who is doubting their own gut feeling about someone close to them. Someone being convinced the problem is them. Someone carrying this perception in silence because naming it costs too much. Send this video to that person. Now before you close it, because what was delivered here is for them too. And if they want to go deeper, the link is in the first comment, waiting for them, just like it waited for you. The next video continues where this one left off. Hit the bell so you don't miss it. It is done. What was delivered here is delivered. You are not the same person you were when this message started. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part? You start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video.